Syria's main opposition group plans to start talks on Monday to form a cabinet and appoint a prime minister, the meeting that has polarized the opposition and brought a wave of criticism against the group's leader. The divisions boil down to whether to engage representatives of President Bashar al-Assad's regime in a political transition, or form an alternate government that excludes them. Tensions have mounted as Sheikh Muaz al-Khatib, head of the Syrian opposition coalition, has searched for potential liaisons with the regime. Some members of the coalition accuse him of acting out of line and betraying the group's original mandate. "We are telling him to resign," said Kamal Labwani, the coalition member. "If that happens, we finish off this illusion of dialogue," said Mr. Labwani, who, like other members, has been recently critical of Mr. Khatib's political maneuvers. "We have liberated this land with our blood," he said of Syria's rebel-held areas. "Let's set up a government already." Mr. Khatib wanted to delay the formation of an interim government, his associates said, fearing it could hurt efforts to lure people away from the regime and into a broader government made up of opposition and regime representatives. In January, he said he was prepared to hold talks with the government through the vice president, an offer that Mr. Assad appears to have rebuffed by narrowing his terms for dialogue and rejecting international mediation efforts. Mr. Khatib has kept the door for dialogue open, while activists have hardened their position. Many of those pressing for an interim government to be formed now want to avoid eventually sharing power with any regime officials. They also argue that an interim opposition government will boost the rebels by unlocking more aid and, eventually, international legal recognition which the body needs to be able to purchase arms and unfreeze regime assets. The wrangling over the type of government to create as well as who will lead it has created new fault lines within the opposition. Disagreement led the meeting to be rescheduled twice in 2 weeks, though it appears set to start on Monday. A spokesman for Mr. Khatib said the leader wasn't available for interviews ahead of the meeting. The spokesman said the coalition was committed to appointing the prime minister this week. The popular former cleric from Damascus, Mr. Khatib has tapped Damascus constituencies for support in his leadership of the coalition, the merchant class, and the moderate, religious establishment. Both are traditionally seen as pro-regime, though many business and religious leaders have joined the opposition. Critics say that Mr. Khatib may be moving too close to the circles associated with Mr. Assad even if his end goal is to secure an exit path for the president. "You have these many turf wars between fighters across Syria, but there's also a high politics struggle between different establishments," said Malik al-Abdi, a Syrian writer from a long-time dissident family. "This is the struggle for who is going to control Syria playing out." The coalition's largest faction, the Syrian National Council, wants to form an interim government as soon as possible, as agreed when the coalition was formed in Doha, Qatar in November. A successful cabinet, council members say, would receive foreign funds to help administer rebel-controlled areas. Defense, economy, and finance ministers would track funds pledged for aid, salaries to rebel fighters being sporadically paid by Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and the dispensing of arms and equipment. A functioning cabinet and defense ministry, they also hope, would encourage more government and military defections. On Saturday, an Arab station broadcast a video statement by Brigadier General Muhammad Khaloof, a well-known general, announcing his defection. General Khaloof, the former head of an intelligence branch where activists regularly report being tortured, was snuck out of Syria through Jordan. If confirmed, it would signal that officials close to the regime are still considering switching sides, 2 years into the conflict. It also appears to show that rebels are open to coordinating the exit of senior regime officials implicated in the violence. Mr. Khatib held back on pushing through an interim government apparently under pressure from some United Nations and Western officials. At a coalition meeting in Cairo last month, he voted against moving to appoint a government this week, while the majority overruled him, several members who attended the meeting said. Instead, he has joined talks with Western officials to identify potential candidates to represent the regime in a broader government, according to Western diplomats and coalition members, drawing further scrutiny from activists. He wants to build bridges, said Samir Nachard, the coalition member. It's a tough game. Meanwhile, political factions are vying to push their candidates to the top spot in an interim government. These are the first talks, opposition's leaders say, in which emerging leaders backed by Mr. Khatib will compete with more established opposition factions, including the Syrian National Council and Within it, the Muslim Brotherhood. Among the candidates for interim prime minister include Assad Mustafa, an ex-agriculture minister from Hama, Ofama Kadi, a Canada-based economist from Aleppo, and tribal leader Sheikh Salim al-Mazlit. In Syria, activists and fighters are eager for better coordination but wary of unmet promises for help and political power grabs. There are fighters who don't have the money for a loaf of bread, a fighter in the Aleppo countryside said by Skype. And suddenly the government of people they have never heard of has been established to rule. They won't accept it, he said.